Welcome, friends. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Cincinnati on this 20th day of October. It's another beautiful day at Club 17. We are the 17th club out of 46,000 clubs worldwide. Sarah reminded me that if we added up all of the Rotaract clubs, there are actually 46,000. So we're 17 out of 46, pretty good. It's Cincinnati Rotary's Due Days week. It's going to be so much fun, and the weather's going to be perfect. We're so excited. Thank you for all the hard work that's gotten it to this point. I'm totally looking forward to tomorrow and Saturday. But first, we have a great program in store today. We welcome back Dr. Randy Overbeck as our speaker in program. Dr. Randy Overbeck is an award-winning educator, author, and speaker. Randy, we're looking forward to hearing about all your favorite local haunts, especially this time of year. But now we're going to begin our meeting with the national anthem, led by Ariel Miller and accompanied by Steve Haber. Ariel, I'm looking for you. There you are. Great. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Thank you, Ariel. Thank you, Steve. Now I welcome Steve Dreyfel for our invocation and four-way test.
Thanks, President Steve. Let's bow our heads. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for bringing us together today to share a meal, conversation, and fellowship. We thank you for this venue, for the food you have provided to nourish our body, and for those who prepared and served it. God above, we thank you for those talented authors of books, magazines, newspaper articles, and other written materials. God, you have blessed us with your written word and given us gifted authors who write in so many venues. Some authors' writings will make us laugh. Some will provide us with great entertainment. Some will be factual and educational. Some will be stories that we can read to our children and grandchildren as we get them interested in reading and the adventures it can bring in their lives. Some will be mysteries or whodunit novels that keep us at the edge of our chair. Some of us cannot get our day going until we had our morning cup of coffee and spent time reading the newspaper in print or online. We thank you, God, for blessing us with a freedom to write as we choose, and for the authors that bring us so much joy to our lives with their talents and stories. We ask that you continue to bless and inspire these authors and writers. Now, Father, we ask that you be with the many volunteers who are giving of their time this Friday and Saturday to serve others during Rotary Due Days. It is a privilege to be able to help our community and to serve and put service above self. Amen. Amen. And now please join me in reciting the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you.
You may be seated. Thank you, Steve. Now, I welcome Rob Hageman to the podium to introduce our guests and prospective members. Welcome, Rob.
Thank you, President Steve. Good afternoon, everyone. We have 3 wonderful guests. As I read your name, please stand up and be recognized. I welcome Dr. Frank Collins, who is a retired physician from TriHealth, who is a guest of Mr. Hux Miller. Yeah. We welcome Dr. Reno Munda, who is a retired vascular surgeon, also a guest of Dr. Hux Miller. And then we have Michelle Starr, who works for B. Brown Brave, who is a guest of Rotarian Doug Bolton.
Thank you, Rob. I guess we know the answer to, is there a doctor in the house? Welcome, Michelle. Now I'd like to introduce or bring Melinda Kelly to the podium, who is our meeting sponsor, our annual meeting sponsor. Her company is Right Path Enterprises.
Thank you very much, President Steve. At Right Path Enterprises, we are very glad to sponsor our annual meeting today, and we have a short video that tells you a little bit about our company, Right Path Enterprises, and thank you so much, and have a very great annual meeting.
Have you considered whether or not you're on the right path? Are you living on purpose, or are you in need of transformation? Do you have a strategic plan to get you there? As individuals and leaders, we often need the support of trusted coaches, advisors, who will guide the discussion and provide honest feedback to help us illuminate the way. Right Path Enterprises provides an individualized format which may benefit you as you are seeking and training yourself and or business or organization to be the best as you were designed to be and to maximize your potential. Each of us has areas where we would like to see personal and or business growth. Perhaps it's goal setting, self-awareness, mindfulness, or leadership. As your coach, Right Path Enterprises will provide you with the personal and organizational tools to assist you with designing a map for setting your course. Through Right Path Enterprises processes, you'll gain clarity, accelerate growth, and achieve measurable results for you and your organization. Would you like to know if Right Path can help you with the direction you should take for transformation? Then start your journey by speaking with Right Path Enterprises owners and managing partners, Melinda and Mike Kelly.
That's great, Melinda. Thank you for sponsoring our meeting today. Really appreciate that video, too. Now we have the exciting task of introducing 3 new members to the club. And up first, past President Melinda Kelly. Welcome.
Thank you again very much, President Steve. It is my pleasure to introduce to you Lydia Stack. Lydia? Lydia is a graduate of the University of Cincinnati in sociology and women's studies. She produced a short feature documentary that received many accolades and has been used in 3 departments of the University of Cincinnati as a teaching tool. Lydia has also appeared on The Bill Maher Show, Politically Incorrect, and The Oprah Winfrey Show. Lydia has a background working for social justice and human rights. She was in AmeriCorps Vista right out of college, which is the Domestic Peace Corps. She served 2 terms. She opened a restaurant in 2009 in the Clifton Gaslight District, Lydia's on Ludlow, where she created a space of community. She also served on the Clifton Business Association for 10 years, 2 of them as president. Lydia organized to bring back Clifton Fest, Clifton's art and music festival. She served on that team for 7 years. She also booked live music every weekend in the Clifton Plaza for 10 years. You can find Lydia's on Ludlow signs and permanent restaurant display at the American Sign Museum. So the next time we go there, we can look for Lydia's on Ludlow. Lydia is married to Jeffrey Steck, and they have 2 children. Her family lives in Enright Ridge Urban Eco Village on East Price Hill, for which she and her husband co-organized. Lydia is proud to be a member of the Rotary Club of Cincinnati, and she has already begun serving in the community and in our club. She assisted with the Zoom production for those members who are not able to come in person. She did that before she became a member. And she's also visited one of our clubs in Yellow Springs, Ohio. So let's give Lydia Steck a warm Rotary Club 17 welcome.
Next, we welcome member John McCann, introducing his wife, Katie McCann.
Thank you, President Steve. I have the privilege to introduce my wife, Katie McCann. Katie McCann is a graduate of Northern Kentucky University with a double major in public relations and English, which just means for me I have to watch all my correspondence with her to make sure they're not return corrected. After college, Katie spent a little bit of time at a large insurance company, and then after about 5 or 6 years, she came to work in her family business as the 4th generation, which the business started in about 1931. So together, Katie and I work at the agency, and we are working on taking over the agency when her father retires at the end of this year. So technically now, effective 1/1 next year, she'll be both my boss, not only at home, but at the office. So. But all kidding aside, Katie and I, through all the chaos, we have 3 young children, 2, 5, and 8, almost 8. And through all that and everything else, we've also been able to release a book this year. So we wrote a book about business culture. So we are now authors for the first time that we joint wrote. So let's give my wife, Katie, a good welcome.
Come on up, Steve Haber and Angie Hawk. And now Steve Haber to introduce Angie Hawk. You're welcome.
Thanks, President Steve. Fellow Rotarians and guests, this is the top 10 list of the things that you don't know about new member Angie Hawk. Number 10, she was the 1984 and 1986 junior and senior rabbit showmanship champion at the Coshocton County Fair. Showmanship means it didn't have anything to do with a rabbit. Number 9, when she was 24 years old, she was a foster mom for teenage boys. Number 8, she spent 3 years as an organic free-range chicken farmer. Number 7, Angie was the U.S. delegate to a global microfinance summit in Spain in 2011. Number 6, and now she is the Associate Director of Development at Thomas More University. Number 5, she came in 32nd out of 1,500 people in a World Series poker tournament in Las Vegas. Number 4, Angie enjoys woodworking and performing construction projects. Number 3, she jumped out of a plane at 11,000 feet. Number 2, she thinks black licorice and skunks smell the same. And the number 1 thing you might know about Angie is that she married my good friend of 27 years, Tim Hecker, just this past April. So please welcome to our club, Angie Hawk.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you. All these new members, Angie and Lydia and right, and Katie. Sorry, Katie. All right. Now, Mr. Schatzman and Dan Long are coming to the podium to talk about two exciting, fun, upcoming events. Thank you, Michael.
Okay, who's the wise guy that put the stairs in here for me? Good afternoon. Very, very good. So we're going to have another one of our neighborhood coffees. Everybody got this email this morning. You should have it in your inbox. And just to remind you, it's October 25th, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. And we're going to be holding it at the latest installment of the Sleepy Bee Cafe franchise in College Hill. There's plenty of parking behind the building. So if you get over there and you're looking around for a place to park, there is room behind the building. So come on out, join us, have some coffee. I'll try not to wear my coffee this time, and we'll have some fun. Thanks, everybody.
Hello, Rotarians. You know, I've been a Rotarian for over 40 years, and I can honestly say that one of the big differences in the club in the last 3 to 5 years has been the social aspect of our club. I mean, we have coffees from Michael. Esteban has brought us Tuesday bar events. We have, card games. I think we just become a lot more social. And in lieu of that, I am having, or I should say my wife and I are having, a Halloween-themed party a week from this Friday. So that's Friday, October the 28th. It's a Rotary after hours, so it starts at 5:30. The flyer says it ends at 7:30, but I'm sure that we will be there longer than 7:30 would be my guess. It's Halloween themed, but that does not mean that you have to come dressed, okay? So if you would like to just come after work, please come clad in some fashion. But again, I want to stress the fact that if you don't want to be dressed in a Halloween costume, that's fine. The big thing is we want to have the house full of people. That's what we want, costume or not. I will be sending an email out tomorrow. Yes, we would like to have you RSVP, but an RSVP is really not necessary because you're bringing your own appetizer, you're bringing your own drinks, so all we're providing is cups and ice and some records that I'm going to be playing from the 60s and 70s that I think we will all enjoy. So again, last minute, if you can't decide till Friday at 5 o'clock that you can come, we want you to come. So come, reservation or not. And again, being that I'm in charge of the Membership Development Committee, I also would like you to really think about bringing a prospect to this event. Would be a great event to bring someone to. If you bring a prospect to my party, you will be eligible to win a basket of wine at the end of the night. So please think over the next several days, invite a friend, bring a prospect, a week from Friday, live in Mount Lookout. See you there.
You better play the Monster Mash. Now it's an exciting time to announce and ratify and welcome the new officers and directors for Rotary year 2023-24. I would like to officially open the annual meeting of the members. Our first and only order of business will be the ratification of the new club officers and directors for the Rotary year 23-24. Let me briefly review the process. Your board of directors, through a nominating committee, asked for nominees for board positions from any member of the club. Candidates could also nominate themselves. This year, 14 candidates were considered for 5 officer and director positions. After thoughtful vetting, the nominating committee presented its recommendations to the board for its consideration. The board members considered the addition of any further nominees, and voted to approve the final slate of candidates. The board has submitted that slate of officers and directors to the general membership for ratification, which is what we're doing today. Our goal is to have a board with the skills and leadership to serve our club well, and which also reflects the diversity of our members. The diversity of our slate of candidates can vary widely from year to year, but the composition of the total board, which is kept in mind. This slate of new candidates voted upon and approved at the September 8th board meeting, when added to the existing board members who are continuing to serve in 23-24, will comprise a board which reflects the gender, racial, and age diversity of our club. I now call on Club 17 member Bob Brandstetter, part of the 7-person nominating committee, to first present and then move for ratification by the club at this annual meeting the election of the proposed slate of Rotary Club officers and directors effective July 1st, 2023. Mr. Brandstetter, welcome to the podium. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to report to the club at large the results of this year's nominating committee. Over the past several months, 7 of your club members, fellow club members, met to nominate, to consider, to discern, and to nominate a proposed slate of candidates whom we think will serve well as the future leadership of our club, the 17th oldest Rotary Club in the known universe. The 2022 nominating committee for our club consisted of President Steve King, President-elect Doug Bolton, along with at-large members, past President Michael Schatzman, Kelly Flynn Shook, Vince Terry, and myself, and was chaired by our immediate past president, Melinda Kelly. And I would like to stop and take a moment to extend my appreciation to the work that Melinda Kelly did in leading and guiding the effort. We ran into a number of obstacles and roadblocks along the way, and Melinda very masterfully led us through that process. Could we please have a round of applause for Melinda Kelly? In July, we met in a very long meeting, that's 3+ hours, where we went through and reviewed each candidate, where each member of the nominating committee went roundtable and was asked to comment on skills and qualifications of each of the nominees for each of the positions. And it was a very useful operation because in thinking back, I think there was, I remember calculating there was more than a 10-to-1 difference in the amount of tenure. In fact, coincidentally, Michael Schatzman sent me a congratulations a couple of hours ago on my 3rd anniversary as a Club 17 member, so I immediately went to look to see what Michael's service is, and Michael's about just shy of 10 times longer than I've been here. So that was the beginning of July. We went through refining that process using ranked choice voting, which I've been hearing about in the news lately for various states employing that. In August, we took our proposed slate of officers and new directors to the Rotary Board for review, and they took a month to review and analyze the proposed slate. And in September, they voted on the slate and approved it. And interestingly, I had a conversation with Linda Muth a little after this was done, basically commiserating the 3.5-hour meeting that we had back in July. But Linda pointed out to me that compared to when she came here 10 years earlier, the process that we go through today is so much more refined and is so much better in choosing our leadership, in looking at the qualifications of the candidates and their level of commitment to the job. So she pointed out, rightfully so, that the process has been significantly improved over the last 10 years. So now at this annual meeting of club members, I would like to present that slate and raise a motion to ratify our proposed slate. And as I call your name out, if you would please stand up if you're present. For our proposed directors, we nominate for a 3-year term beginning on July 1st, 2023, Greg Hartley, Pat Neal Miller, and Chuck Martz. And for proposed club officers, we propose President nominee Eric Petway, President-elect Doug Bolton, and Treasurer-elect Wes Botto. Additionally, on behalf of President Steve, I'd like to repeat that the board has voted to confirm that current President-elect Doug Bolton remains a candidate for club president effective July 1st, 2023. Let's give all of these well-qualified candidates a round of applause. And next, I would like to raise a motion for ratification of the proposed slate of the Rotary Club officers and the new directors. And with that, I will turn this back over to President Steve to conduct the vote.
There's a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second? Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations. I'd like to make a motion to close the meeting, the annual meeting of the members. I hear a motion. Do I have a second? All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you all. And welcome new directors and officers. Thank you so much for lending your talents and your heart for service to this club. On behalf of Club 17, we really appreciate the dedication and the step you have made to joining the leadership of this club. This is the greatest club in the world. We talk about Club 17, but it's club number 1. And this is a great board to join. So you're most, we look forward to having you at the meeting starting in July. Oh, it's time for announcements. We have some birthdays to celebrate. Yesterday we had Marita Wade and Kelly Collison. Happy belated birthday, Kelly Collison. Janet Burns and Mary Smiley today, and Dave Lucky and Dave Carlin this weekend. Happy birthday. Split the Pot has a $48 pot with a revolving pot of $710. So if you pull the Queen of Hearts, you will collect the $48 and have a chance. Well, I should take that back. This is your ticket, you get the $48. If you pull the Queen of Hearts, you get extra lucky. All right, the last 4 digits are 7517. All right, there we go, Ken. Well, the ghosts were not in your favor today, Ken. All right, so attention all military veterans. On November 10th, we will be recognizing Rotarians who are military veterans. If you are a veteran, please submit your name, highest rank attained, branch of service, and years of service, along with a military photo if you have one to share, by Friday, November 4th to Christie. Professional Development Series. Our next Professional Development Series event will be held at 11 a.m. before the Thursday, November 3rd meeting. So Thursday, November 3rd at 11, attendees will join Elizabeth Galperin, founder of Peak Productivity, a Cincinnati-based business coaching and consulting firm, as she teaches her signature Ascend method. Elizabeth will provide an engaging interactive presentation revealing the 6 fundamental and foundational systems and structures all professionals need to reach their fullest potential. Sign up through the Rotary website, DACDB, or the flyer that Christy has available. Raise your hand if you need a flyer. Cincinnati Rotarians help propel the Madagascar Project. Our Cincinnati Rotary team, led by Ariel Miller and dubbed the Clean Water Lemurs, are this close to victory. Thanks to several Rotarians who donated generously this week, the Clean Water Lemurs are now in first place in the Dayton Foundation competition. How about that? Very exciting, Ariel. The total fundraising effort has raised $8,718 and counting. If you haven't yet given, your donation this week can help our Cincinnati team secure their win over the Dayton team that is hot in pursuit. If you donate, your gift will multiply the blessings to women and girls of the Tamatave, Madagascar through free adult literacy classes, women's self-help groups, and programs to equip girls for success at school. The link is in the Tuesday E-Raise newsletter. World Affairs fundraiser on November 7th. The World Affairs fundraiser will be an opportunity to raise money for both current and future projects and the World Affairs Endowment. The evening event will be held at the Bantz Studios. That's at 221 McFarland Street, downtown. On Monday, November 7th, from 6 to 8 p.m., the World Affairs Committee puts together fun and informative events. Please mark your calendar and support their efforts. RSVP through the DACDB calendar. Want to give a shout out to our Rotary Due Days Committee. You can imagine it's just a year and a half, 2 years in the making, and this is the week. There have been many, many long days, and in some cases long nights, to make it all happen. And I want to say thank you for the tireless efforts of Susan Wilkinson and Owen Rassman and Doug Bolton and Bill Stilley and Melinda Kelly, Kelly Mahan, Kelly Collison, and Jack Estelle, and the office staff. Can we give them a round of applause? Tomorrow, the Mayor AFTAB is going to declare Friday, October 21st, officially Rotary Due Day, Cincinnati Rotary Due Day. And it's going to be just a great kickoff to a great weekend. In less happy news, the family of Rotary, please keep Rotarian Dan Nair, and Dave Nair in your thoughts and prayers as they mourn the loss of son and brother Barry Nair on Tuesday, October 11th, 2022. All right, at this point in time, I'd like to welcome Al Conscious to the podium to introduce our program. Al?
Thank you, President Steve. With all this talk about authors today, I thought I'd share with you a book that I'm reading. It's about anti-gravity. I just can't put it down. Today, we're very pleased to have Dr. Randy Overbeck here, very accomplished gentleman. He's an award-winning educator, author, and speaker. As an educator, he served children in roles that he's captured in his novels, from teacher and coach to principal and superintendent. His novels have earned national awards, including the Gold Award from the Literary Titan, Thriller of the Year from Reader's Favorite, Silver Award for Mystery of the Year from ReaderViews, and Crown of Excellence from the Ind'tale Magazine. Dr. O is an active member of the literary community, contributing to a writer's critique group, serving as a mentor to emerging writers, and participating in writing conferences. His newest project is his new podcast, Great Stories about Great Storytellers, with the weird and unusual backstories of great storytellers like authors, directors, and poets. Randy was born and raised on the west side of Cincinnati. He has a BA from XU and a master's and PhD from the University of Dayton. He is married to Kathy, and they will celebrate their 50th anniversary next month. He has 3 adult children and 7 grandchildren. Please welcome fellow Rotarian, Dr. Randy Overbeck.
Thank you very much. I'm pleased to be here, and thanks for having me back. I I've always loved coming to the Hilton, and I can't think of a better reason to be here than to join in Club 17. Before I begin, I've got just one bit of housekeeping. On your table, I have a sign-up sheet for my newsletter. If I have inspired you and interested you, you may have an interest to sign up for my newsletter. I don't ever share your address with anybody else but me, and I only send about one newsletter a month, but so you don't get bombarded. But if you're like my Rotary, please pass that around, and so it doesn't just sit in front of one person the whole time. Right? That's what happens at our Rotary. Okay, I'm going to share with you what I call a few favorite haunts in the area, and talk a little bit about ghosts today. In creating the novels that you have on the table in front of you, I ended up doing a great deal of research on a lot of areas, but mostly about ghosts. And part of that, just a small part of that research is what I'm going to share with you, including a couple of favorite places around here. So I don't know whether you know about some of these or not, but Music Hall is one of the most haunted places in the nation, not just in Cincinnati, in the nation. In fact, it's been on almost every ghost hunter show on TV. The story goes that it was built on the site of a orphanage, and when they actually dug the foundation of the building, they stumbled on the graves of all the children that had died in that orphanage. And workers, not so much concert goers, but mainly workers, have talked about finding children running across the aisles in Music Hall in the evening when no one else is there. This is a very favorite bar that some of you may know about if you're a music fan. Anybody who's a music buff knows about this place, Bob Mackey's Bar. It's been kind of a music mecca for decades. I did not know about its haunted history until I did that, but supposedly that it has a very sordid history. It is a place back in the 30s, 20s, during that there were a lot of mob executions in that bar, and supposedly there was a group that did satanic cult activities in the basement as well. It is identified as the most haunted nightclub in the United States. It's the only place I know that does ghost tours all year long. They don't just do them in October like other places do. Any time of the year you can go to a ghost tour at Bob Mackey's Bar. Dayton Masonic Temple, I found this very, very interesting. So I don't know if any of you have been to the Dayton Masonic Temple. Beautiful building. According to the stories, there is a ghost that is an unofficial tour guide. So a number of people have reported that they've came to the Masonic Temple, and they're greeted by this very nice elderly gentleman who acts as a docent, takes them around and shows out places to them. And the last place that he takes them to, they have like graduation pictures of members, and he points to a particular graduation picture, which is his picture, and when he does that, he disappears. And there have been a number of people who have said that this experience has happened to them. Okay. You might have heard of this story about the Victoria Theater. The Victoria Theater in the 1900s, they had a young actress who went into one of the dressing rooms and never came out. They never found her body. They never found any evidence of what happened to her. But currently, actors and actresses who go into this dressing room report smelling a perfume that she had, and some of them have said they have seen her image in the mirror looking back at her. In fact, there are a number of actors and actresses who will not take that dressing room. If they assign that dressing room, they're going, nope, you put me in some other place. I'm from Lebanon, so I couldn't forget the Golden Lamb. The Golden Lamb is home to a number of ghosts, actually 4 different ghosts, the most famous of which is Sarah Stubbs, who likes to frequent the 4th floor of the Golden Lamb. And she's very interesting because she's one of the few ghosts that don't haunt the place where she died. She actually died someplace else, although she spent much of her life living at the Golden Lamb. And this is my favorite one because, well, it has a connection to, I'm sorry, I got to go back. It has a connection to my family. Not a good connection by that matter. So I don't know if you've heard of George Remus, the bootlegger king, okay? I don't know if you know the rest of this story, but George Remus was a very successful bootlegger in the area, and he and his wife have kind of a sordid past all the way along. I won't go through all that, but the FBI was on to George and trying to trap him. So they put one FBI agent in charge of the investigation. As the story goes, the FBI agent got George's wife to turn on him. In fact, the FBI agent got his wife, to fall in love with the FBI agent. George found out about this and murdered his wife. Took her up to Eden Park for a date and ended up murdering her at Eden Park. The best part of the story, near the picturesque, that gazebo, and if you go to Eden Park today, you may well run into the ghost of George's wife. The most interesting part of that story is, so George was found out, taken to trial for the murder of his wife, and he got off, pleading temporary insanity. He was the first person to win on a temporary insanity plea. The connection with my family is my grandfather owned the only gun store in town. So my grandfather owned Powell and Clement Gun Company, which that's of course where George got a few of his weapons. Okay. I thought it would be kind of interesting to share with you some consensus about what we really know about ghosts. So this may change some of what you think about this. So ghosts, one of the things that those people who study ghosts say that ghosts are incredibly shy. The reason we only see them at night, or almost always only see them at night, is they're trying to avoid contact with humans. So the second one is almost always ghosts appear to be victims of unexpected or sudden death. There are exceptions to that, but by and large that tends to be the most common. They have calculated, determined, estimated that it takes a great deal of psychic energy for a ghost to make itself known. In fact, the most common appearance of a ghost is an orb like you see in that picture there. And I will tell you that's the only ghost I've ever seen. So that is actually the most common example of a ghost making a physical appearance. Usually, spirits appear at the place of their death. The experts tend to think that's because for some reason they're tied to that place and they can't leave. In fact, you've heard stories about ghosts walking through walls. What most people believe is that they're probably not walking through walls, that the architecture of the place has changed over time and they're actually going through a door in their time, but which has now been changed to a wall. This is the thing that really got my interest. Ghosts are somehow able to change the temperature in the room. And I have seen physical demonstration of this myself. And in fact, since then, I have read maybe 100 examples of this occurring all over the world. It is the most common manifestation of a ghost. So I'll tell you this story. I was actually doing research and I met with a group called the Central Indiana Paranormal Society. It's a group of volunteers that they go and investigate. And they were called to investigate a room that was tiny. Like maybe about as big as these two tables together. And they did what was typical. They went there at midnight, stayed till 3 in the morning. They brought along photographic equipment, video equipment, audio equipment, temperature equipment. And they played for me an audio recording of a ghost that they said occurred in that room. Okay, you could be faking that. I don't really know. Well, one of the things they do is they have a very sensitive temperature reading for the room. And then to eliminate human error, they put a video camera on that temperature thing the whole time. And they told us to watch. Well, to make a long story short, the room was like, 62 degrees. It was an empty room. In 10 seconds, the temperature in the room dropped 20 degrees. It just went, and about 2 minutes later, it came back up. And then they fast forwarded. Over the 3 hours, this happened 3 different times. Experts say that's the ghost coming and going in the room. And I have read this over and over again all over the world. It's a very common manifestation of ghosts. Ghosts leave images on photos and videos. It is very common for a human being not to see the ghost, but somehow they're able to show up on either video film or photo. Now, when I was here before, I shared some expert photos, and one of the problems with sharing photos is that it's so easy to manipulate today's photos that you can't really give a modern photo because it's just kind of too easy to fake. So I have picked out old photos. These are very famous photos, and I will tell you that photo experts have examined these, and they are not been double exposed or manipulated in any way. This one is from 1919. Now, I apologize because on the big screen, you're not going to be able to see this very well, but if I tell you about this, if you're interested, you can look this up. It's famous. Just look up Goddard Squadron. You'll see that. But the story is that if you can look in that enlarged picture, you can see the image of a guy, the face of a young man behind the guy. Can you see that? Okay. Well, that is actually taken from ghostly image behind, fourth from left on the top row. So you can't see that, but you have to look at it very closely. The story behind this is that guy is Freddie Johnson, and he died in the war 2 days before this group photo was taken. But that is clearly a picture of Freddie behind his friend. This is a very poor photo in the sense of by quality, but this is taken in 1891. In those days in England, if you were wealthy, I did not know this, while the funeral was going on, they hire a photographer to come and take photos of everything, probably to document what processions they have and stuff like that. And a photographer was taking this photo while the funeral procession was going on, going past the house in front. If you look very carefully, there's a picture of the man who had just died, an image of him in the chair just there to the left. The Ghost Pilot. Oh, yeah, I like this one. 1987. These are all still pre-digital. Okay? So this young lady was going to a place kind of like Wright-Patterson, and she was visiting this airfield. She posed. She was all by herself, posed by a picture in the helicopter. Only if you look very carefully to her left, you can see the image of a ghost sitting in that helicopter. And that's the ghost. They figured out it was the ghost of the pilot that was killed. This is Mrs. Andrews' baby, 1947. This baby, no one has ever seen that. Again, this goes back to a photo being able to pick up something that humans couldn't see. Humans did not see that baby, but the baby was it showed up on several pictures. It was not buried. That's actually a grave of a young boy, a young baby boy. And this is a young baby girl. They believe it's a girl that's buried nearby. She comes to play with the ghost of the guy that's buried there. I'm sure most of you have heard of Waverly Hill Sanitarium. Well, you can tell me if my research is correct or not. This was taken in 2006. The image was taken at the hospital long after it was abandoned. And the story goes that Mary Lee, who was a nurse at the hospital, who got pregnant by one of the doctors, certainly not your grandfather, hung herself in the hospital. And this is an image of her ghost that appeared many years later. I see if I can get this one to work. Sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. This is a very interesting, oh, there it goes. So if you watch, this is actually two photos, same group, taken within a few minutes. And there's an extra person that appears in that photo. The party did not know who that ghost was. Okay, all right. So that kind of brings me a full circle back to how I got into the whole ghost thing. So my series is called The Haunted Shore Mysteries. And I love this. This is one of the first reviews done of the books, but I liked it so much I stole it. He called it a cold case murder mystery wrapped in a ghost story, served with a side of romance, all set in a stunning resort location. Sounds like what you want to read, right? One of the things that's very different about my ghost stories is, I don't know if you read ghost fiction, I've read a lot. Ghost fiction is almost always one of two categories. It's either the Stephen King, Dean Koontz category, which creates these horrible specters of terrifying ghosts like the Amityville Horror, or what I call their Casper the Friendly Ghost categories, and that's cozies where the ghosts are my grandmother who died and left me the yarn shop. It helps me solve mysteries, okay? Neither of those examples are anywhere close to the truth. So what I have tried to do in creating my fictional ghosts was stay as close to what has actually been documented about real ghost interactions with people. They don't solve any mysteries. They don't crack any jokes. The other thing that's very different is I chose very unique resort locations. So the first book is located on the eastern shore of the Chesapeake Bay. How many people have been there? No? Eastern shore of the Chesapeake Bay. Okay, not many. I will tell you, this is my favorite vacation place. Today, right today, it is the most beautiful place in the United States. There isn't a more beautiful place than sitting on a sailboat in the middle of Chesapeake Bay with the shore just exploding in color around you. But most people, it is very not commercialized very much. Cape May is the second book. And Cape May is, if you don't know, who's been to Cape May? More people have been to Cape May. Okay. The oldest resort in the United States. You know that? More people have been coming to that resort longer than any place else in the U.S. 150 years. Has one of the top 10 beaches. And it has those incredible Victorian houses. It has 160 Victorian mansions or bed and breakfasts in a town of 5,000 people. Plus, it also happens to be the most haunted seaport on the eastern side of the United States. And the third one is also a very unusual, Crystal River, Florida. Has anybody been to Crystal River? So only one. Crystal River is on the Gulf Coast of Florida, about an hour north of Tampa, and it's very old Florida. It's not very developed. It's got a very nice beach. It has these incredible trails that go through swamps, and has an old Indian mound area. And it also is the only place in the United States you can swim with manatees. It's a really neat place. So one of the other things that distinguishes my books, I'm an educator, as you heard. I spent 40 years serving children in Ohio. My heroes have always been educators, so I thought if I'm going to write fiction, then certainly the heroes are going to be fictional educators. So my protagonist, my hero, is a high school social studies teacher and researcher, and also a coach who sees ghosts, but he's not very happy about that. And he's got a few other problems. His partner, he has a bad case of OCD. His partner is Erin Cavaney, who's an OB nurse. They actually look like that. Those are actors. As we already mentioned, the books have actually won 9 national awards between the 3 of them. So I'm very proud of that. And if you go online, you'll see scores of 5-star reviews from both professional reviewers and readers on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Let me give you a quick little piece of each one, and then I'll wrap this up. I'm doing pretty good on time. Daryl is a Midwesterner like us who gets dumped at the altar and was looking for a place to start over, and he ends up at the Eastern Shore because he's got the perfect job, exactly what he wants to teach and coach, only he finds out that a ghost of a young man who had been lynched there 30 years earlier is haunting the athletic office, and he has to find out what really happened to him. That was in 2019. In 2020 released the second one. He goes to the Jersey Shore to run a football camp, ends up stumbling into the haunted bride, and also ends up in a major crime ring. And then last fall, the romantic, they meet in the first book, fall in love in the second book, get married in the third book. They go on their honeymoon to Florida at Christmas time, and intend on only having a good time, but what happens is they run into the ghosts of 2 murdered immigrant children who beg for justice. The first book was an Amazon bestseller and Barnes & Noble bestseller last summer. The second book, last fall, became the #2 best-selling ghost story in the United States, ahead of Stephen King, ahead of Dean Koontz, ahead of all the other ghost books. And the third book, Scarlet at Crystal River, is climbing. Yesterday it was number 19 in the United States, so it's not what the others are, but it's getting there. Thank you very much. The books are $20 each, but the publisher is allowing me to put the 3 of them together for just $50. I forgot to tell you, the third book is also a Christmas mystery. I don't know if everybody in here, but my wife has to have a new Christmas mystery every December. So if you have somebody on your list who would do that, this would be the perfect book for them. There's a couple on the table of I only have one book on my back list. It's a thriller about a terrorist takeover of a high school in Ohio. and the teacher who defeats the terrorists that invade their building. As he mentioned, I have a new podcast called Great Stories about Great Storytellers. Here's the short version of it. It's Paul Harvey's The Rest of the Story about authors, directors, and poets. Okay? And this is my last part. So, in fact, the very first podcast is a longer version of what I'm going to share with you today. You may have heard of John Grisham. A few people have heard of that, okay? Well, I don't know if you remember his first book. His first book is called Time to Kill. If you didn't read it or see the movie, here's a synopsis in about 10 seconds. Two idiot rednecks rape a 12-year-old black girl, drag her behind on their truck, kill her. Her dad hunts the two of them down and kills them. I didn't even spoil the book for you because that happens in about 11 pages. The book is actually the story of the trial. Okay. John, at this time, in the late 80s or middle 80s when he wrote this book, was a lawyer in Mississippi and actually a member of the House of Representatives in Mississippi. Very busy, but he thought he wanted to be a writer. And he wrote this story, but no one would publish it. He said in his office in Mississippi, he has an entire wall papered with rejection slips from agents and editors and publishers of this book. Eventually, he got a small Christian press in Florida to publish the book. They did what was standard in those days. They ran 10,000 or 5,000 copies. It did not sell. John was absolutely beside himself. He quit his job. I can imagine that was an interesting conversation around the Grisham. I know, honey, you put me through law school, but I'm going to give that up and do this writing thing. He went to the publisher and said, just give me boxes of books. And he went all around the South from small bookstore to small bookstore and said, put 4 up. If you sell them, send the money to the publisher. If not, I'll come back and get them. Anyway, to make a long story short, because I'm trying to keep very close on my time, somewhere along that line, he met an agent, picked the book up, read it, liked it, eventually got back to John and said, this book is pretty good, but I know you got a publisher for it. Are you working on anything else? He said, well, I'm just finishing this book I'm going to call The Firm, and the rest is history. So that's my long-winded way of saying, don't you today wish you could get your hands on one of those 5,000 first edition copies of A Time to Kill? But you can't, but you can get mine, which is the next best thing. And you'll leave with an autographed copy, which will be worth a fortune someday. All right. Even if, I hope I interest you enough that somebody has an interest in that, but even if you don't, you can help me. In front of each of you, you have a bookmark. Please find that and pick it up and show it to me. I don't know if you know this or not, but if your name is not John Grisham or James Patterson or Lee Child, it is almost impossible to get noticed. The only way a nobody like me gets noticed is word of mouth. So I want you to take that bookmark. I know you have a friend who's a mystery lover and say, you got to check this book out. This guy gave this great talk at Rotary. I know you're going to love his books. All right, listen, thank you very much for letting me come back. It's been great to share with you. I will be here to sign books and take money if you want. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I'll take cash, check, or credit card. Thank you very much.
Randy, that was fantastic. Thank you very much. You know, I especially enjoyed that because my name is Stephen King. This time of year, you wouldn't imagine the comments I get from the cashiers and the tellers and the librarians when I hand them my credit card, right? Like, no, my parents are not raving fans of Stephen King. Just officially, no. But I do appreciate, especially, the work it takes to write anything, honestly, is a ton of work, let alone to craft a story, a mystery, a ghost story out of nothing and put it onto paper. So I have great appreciation for that and the talent it takes to put that together. And now the talent it takes to tell us all about it and inspire us. So we especially appreciate you coming and sharing that story with us today. And the theme of our Rotary year is Imagine Rotary, and you have certainly shared your imagination with us. And we'd like to share our appreciation with you by sharing this. This is a Rotary Club of Cincinnati coin, and it has our 4-way test on the back. Right. You know all about that, right, as a Rotarian, but we think we especially appreciate your presentation. In addition, we're going to make a donation to our End Polio Now campaign in your honor, Randy, because we're this close to eradicating wild polio from the planet, but we need a little bit more help. So we wish you much continued success on Amazon and beyond. Thank you again for being here. Let's give him another round of applause. Great. So we have a couple of final announcements. We have 2 committee meetings. The Environmental Sustainability Committee is meeting in Boardroom 4 on the mezzanine. The Survey Committee is meeting in the Continental Room. Don't forget, so of course we talked about Rotary Due Days all day, but the ambassadors, raise your hand if you're an ambassador. You will be sporting a yellow blazer like this tomorrow, but the ambassadors need to pick up a box of supplies for their event, so do not leave without that box. And let's see, what does this say, Bob? It says at Walnut Street entrance. So the boxes are not up here, the boxes are at the Walnut Street entrance with Jonathan the doorman. So scratch the Walnut, Race Street downstairs with Jonathan. Is that correct? All right, well, it's easy for me to say, right? Next week, we have Beth Johnson, the Executive Director of Cincinnati Preservation Association. But before next week, we have due days. We will see you there. Until then, make it a great week. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, we've got another late announcement. So, membership development, that's one of the most important committees, is also meeting right with Dan Long immediately following this meeting. Thank you for your patience with a few last announcements. Meeting adjourned.